right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Paradangs podcast. I'm Jake,
I'm Chantel.
and we're going to be your hosts today and every day.
We're the only ones here.
Exactly. So we've got some big news. We have moved to Calgary, and we're currently recording this episode in our new basement in the home that we've bought here in Calgary. For those who don't know, before we lived in Langley, which is just outside of Vancouver in British Columbia. And I've been living in BC since somewhere like off and on from like 2010, basically. So
I've been here my whole life. Oh, there. Sorry. Forgot where I was.
exactly. And Chantel lived her whole life in BC.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, before that, I was down in Washington State, just across the border in the U.S. And we lived for a while in Virginia and traveled around a lot there. But I think I moved to BC when I was 19. Actually, 18, just before I turned 19.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I was so eager to drink, and I couldn't wait till 21. I just had to move to Canada.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you got out of your parents' house earlier than most.
Yeah.
So that's a feat in itself.
A year later or so, I was back in their basement for a while. So
relapse happens.
Yeah. There was a little bit of off and on. Thankful for my parents and their generosity with their basement, but it's felt really good to be out of there and in my own spaces.
Totally. Especially now since we are in our 30s.
Exactly. Especially when you're in your 30s. Yeah. So I think this news, we kind of sprung that on people. I don't know, I guess kind of unexpectedly for most, even though you and I had been sort of talking about moving and looking at places to move to and didn't know exactly where. And, you know, Calgary was high on our list. It was the first choice.
We were looking at Winnipeg. I don't know whose idea that was.
I think that was mine. I had been reading some stuff, not the murder stuff and the stabby stuff. Because once I found out about the murder stabby stuff, I was like, yeah,
Besides
never mind.
that it's Winterpeg.
Yeah.
And colder. And for how cold it was today, I don't think we would have survived.
No, it's probably good we didn't choose Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But we'd also been looking at the Atlantic coast, or I had sort of had an inkling to check that out. Like, I think I've been across a lot of the United States, but I really haven't explored much of Canada. And there was something about the Atlantic that sounded very intriguing and interesting and cool. But it sounded like a heck of a lot more winter than the rest of Canada.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't think I was down for that.
Yeah, we were looking for someplace sunny.
Mm-hmm. Sun was a big one.
We could withstand the cold as long as it was sunny.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Rather be happy.
Yeah.
And cold than sad and cold in the rain every single day.
Yep. I think, I don't know if I can speak for you here, but I speak for myself when I, like, so many people would ask, why would you leave BC? Or, oh my gosh, I love BC and all this. And every time you ask them though, well, when were you visiting? They were always there in the summertime. I'm like, yep, summers are great. No doubt about that. But the other, 9 to 10 months of the year are just so gray and damp and rainy and gray and damp and gray, rainy, damp with a hint of sunshine that then gets taken away and put back into gray, rainy, damp.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah.
Depressing.
Yeah. And I think after, I don't know, for me, 10 years of being there, and well, even all my time in Washington before that, growing up there, like, it's the same climate. I basically lived most of my life in that weather pattern and just never enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm from the Okanagan in BC, and amazing most of the year. Really hot summers and really snowy, cold winters. So I've kind of got a bit of everything.
Yeah.
the dry summer and the cold winters. Not a whole lot of rain. I think just enough. The
Nice.
Okanagan is great. That's why people go and
It's gotten popular too.
vacay there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I moved to Vancouver when I was 22. So October 2012.
Mm.
Because, well, I lived in Oyama and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's
Describe
nothing
what was
there.
Oyama like when you grew up there, or like when you left even.
Oyama, well, I was 22 and I had been working at the Oyama General Store, corner store, since I was 16. So I had my first job there pretty much. And by the time I was 22, it was basically the same,
Yeah.
except all my friends had moved away.
Yeah.
And yeah, still the same old people, still touristy in the summer. It's changed a lot now. It's way more touristy. They've done a lot more work to attract people, and
Yeah.
like they took the
Lake
whole
country now.
yeah. Used to be Oyama, all on its own. But yeah, it was just like a bus came maybe twice a day, but it only took you as far as here and as far as there. And then you'd have to transfer no matter what if you wanted to go anywhere.
Mm.
No grocery stores. Corner store had some, stuff.
Yeah.
Mustard for $8. So it's a
What?
corner store. I don't know. I don't remember. But it's a corner store. It's your only store. If you needed a mustard,
Yeah. Gotcha.
they got it for you. But it was also a liquor store
Ooh.
in a small town. So
And in Canada, those are very popular.
in Canada,
Yeah, I guess a lot of places.
yeah, come on. Your
Yeah.
7-Elevens have liquor, so don't even say
I don't know, but
anything.
for some reason, I feel like Canadians are so much more, I don't know, just into drinking.
Well,
It's so much
in
more
the
socially
summer,
acceptable
when the
and
sun's out,
encouraged. And
yeah,
yeah,
it's patio weather. What do
Mhm.
you do on patios?
yeah,
You drink.
yeah. And then I feel like it's the same in the winter.
And then when the winter comes and it's sad, depressing, cold, and cozy inside, you have wine and hot toddies
Yeah.
to get you through the winter until that sun comes out and is saying again, hey, welcome to the patio. And you forget that you've been drinking all year round.
Seasonal alcoholism
Exactly.
that lasts every season.
Add in a small town.
Oh, true. Yeah. Canada's got a lot of those.
A lot of small towns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, well, I don't know. Well, I feel like from the American perspective, they can never name, like, maybe Toronto. Like, Americans
yeah.
don't seem to know anything about Canada ever. But I know, even being here, I think I was shocked. Just even like the drive over here, or the couple of road trips I've done through BC and parts of Alberta, about how much of Canada is just like uninhabited, tiny little towns.
You mean our drive here to Calgary from
Yeah.
BC?
Yeah, but I mean, even
Yeah.
like going up to Kamloops before.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I haven't really done that drive much either. But there's just so much more empty space and really tiny, small, like, I almost want to call them villages. They don't even feel like towns.
Was all those little made me think of old Western towns. I think it was well, was it Grand Forks? Or no, it was like a
Just past
Greenland
there.
or something.
Somewhere just past Grand Forks.
Should have done our research first. But anyways, there's a little town that actually the buildings look like an old Western town.
It felt like driving through a movie set.
Yeah.
I'm scared Alec Baldwin was going to come out with a gun. Too soon? Sorry. Okay. Past that joke.
Anyways, but there's so many little rundown towns that are kind of like in the middle of nowhere. But there's lots. There were a lot on this trip through, like in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got your like Grand Forks, Caramias,
But I felt like
Green. What was that?
Yeah, I can't remember the name either.
Oh, what was that really?
My dad will hear this.
Castlegar.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to Castlegar. I'm sure it's a lovely place, but the day we drove through, they must have been doing work on the sewer somewhere or something, because it reeked.
Or is it always like that? I don't know.
I hope it's not always like that. If you live in Castlegar, please let us know.
It
Please tell us the good things, because
was
that was
so
pretty
bad.
bad. Um, but I think it was. I personally found it really cool how so many of those towns were very much just sort of their own thing. You know, you didn't see a lot of the, I don't know, like chain stores or anything. Like
Oh no no
I
no.
feel like for me it was a noticeable difference between road tripping across the United States, which I've done multiple times with family, and it feels like every small town has the same stores. Like everything is just covered with chains
Well,
and
every small
every
town in Canada
business.
has
And
a Tim Hortons.
yeah, I mean there was
That's
one or
at
two.
least that.
But I felt when you would go down the main drags of a lot of these places, it was someone's business. It
Yeah.
wasn't a chain or a franchise kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was legitimately someone's business. And maybe they did the same thing, like they sold pizza, but it was, you know, John's Pizza instead of Panago's, or,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
which I found really cool. Like I really admire and appreciate that about Canada.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So I'm curious for you, having like been in BC born, raised, lived.
Yeah. All that.
What did you, I don't know, like what did you think of this move? Or
Or why did I want to?
yeah, like I guess what's the motivation for you or the excitement for you in
Well,
this move?
I think it all started with my motivation to move to Vancouver when I was 22. I always wanted to go before that, but I didn't get to get out of there until 22. I just packed up a bag and I lived out of that for a while in Vancouver. And I moved there because I wanted to experience things. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to, you know, learn what it was like to live in a city. Maybe if that didn't
Mm-hmm.
mean exactly downtown Vancouver or anything. Um, and then I ended up in like the greater Vancouver area, Maple Ridge and um, Coquitlam, Langley, and all that, and didn't get to do what I wanted to do, which was try everything, meet everyone, and do all that. You know, I ended up kind of a relationship where I was like settling
Mm.
in a way where there was just we just didn't get out and do the things that I wanted to do. I was young, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
22.
yeah, yeah, and so for many years, this is turning into like a personal story now. For many years, it was
Leave us.
just never leaving, never changing, just getting into a routine that was always the same. And so, fast forward 8, 9 years later, and I've almost been in Vancouver for 10 years. And when I finally decided to change things, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move now. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go either to the island. Well, if we hadn't gotten together, I would have moved to the island because my best friend's there and my parents are there, and that's somewhere different for me.
Mm-hmm.
Could start afresh.
Yeah.
And then we met, and um, the world just looks so much more accessible
Mm.
now with someone else
Mm-hmm.
who also really wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And so I remember telling you, okay, if we're going to be together, you need to know that I want to move away. I want to move somewhere. I need to go. I need to get up and go. I've been stagnant for so long. I'm so bored.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Vancouver's not as amazing as everybody says it is. It's just, once you've been there for a while and things just start being the same. So I was like,
Yeah.
I need.
Well, and to soften it a little, I mean, the city changed a lot in the 10 years that I've been hanging out there
Yeah,
as well.
I'm not
Like,
trying to be harsh, okay?
yeah, it does have its positives, but
hmm
I think the things, yeah, it changed a lot. Like, I know for me, the things that I loved about it have mostly been slowly eroded away, and they don't really exist anymore. You know, it feels kind of like any other North American city now. I'm like, I might as well be in New York or Boston or fucking like wherever. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. It feels
really
the same.
crowded.
Mm-hmm.
It got really expensive too. So honestly, if you're trying to buy a place or even rent anywhere, it just got so expensive. It was just ridiculous.
Hmm. And to
So,
me too, the invasion of just more American business. Like I found that incredibly disturbing and weird. And I know like I was kind of shocked in a way with the what would I call it? I guess the fervor and excitement that people really wanted Amazon's second world headquarters to be in Vancouver. You
yeah.
know, I feel like that was something when I first moved to Vancouver, that would be something that Vancouver would have wholeheartedly rejected, you know, and said, no, we don't want your business. We have enough going on here. We're happy with the way our lives run. Go elsewhere. And I was kind of shocked and dismayed at how much people wanted that. Like, I was like, wow, I don't think you understand what that's going to do to your city in terms of the culture and the
People
lifestyle.
want
And
stuff
totally. I
more
mean,
than
we all
they
want
want.
stuff, but
But I
you know,
mean,
there's ways to get stuff, and Amazon's way is very
they want
intrusive.
Amazon now.
Exactly. It creates a different kind of culture, I think, is my point. Like, you know, I think there was a culture before in Vancouver that was very much about the artisan and the individual, and there's a lot more respect for having your free time and going outside and enjoying the beautiful nature with which surrounds the city. You know,
Yeah.
it's always a huge selling point where everyone's like, come to Vancouver, there's so much beautiful nature. But like, I don't know about you, but how many times were we able to ever go
Yeah.
like enjoy it and hang out with people in
Yeah.
it?
So there's always
Because
so
they're
many
always
people.
working,
There
we're
was,
always working, or it's closed off
yeah,
because we got to
crowded.
preserve it because too many people are going there. And blah, blah, like it kind of felt like a little hoodwink was pulled
Well,
over
and
you.
same with COVID changing all that too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
The COVID, that was a. But
but
before the COVID, I felt like it was already changing, just because
yeah.
I think mostly due to the popularity, right? As social media made all of these hiking viewpoints more, you know, cool, and like you have to go there if you're going to be in Vancouver, and they just got
Right.
so crowded, and you're like, well, there's no point in being here because I can't enjoy anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's all used up.
Hmm.
Anyhow, that's a weird tangent.
That's okay. So basically, after being done with Vancouver and having the opportunity and nothing keeping me stuck in BC anymore, I'm like, let's go somewhere.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Paradinks podcast. Tune in next week to hear more about our journey to Calgary and what we think of our first few weeks in Alberta.